Okay, hi everyone. Just a note for everyone joining us today, the chat is open, but if you would also like to leave a question in the Q&A function, we can view that as well and then make sure we answer all your questions. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start and kick us off so that we stay within the hour and don't take up too much of everyone's time. I know it's close to the lunch hour. So welcome everyone today to this live information session for the WEPs Awards in Malaysia. This officially kicks off the 2021 WEPs Awards process in Malaysia. And so today we're going to walk you through the full process, tell you all about the awards, the application, and we have a very special guest joining us who's going to talk about their experience last year. And we're very proud as well to be partnering with the WEPs Awards in Malaysia with Lead Women. And you're going to hear a bit more from them as well in the coming minutes. So let's go ahead and jump in. So the agenda for today, as I kind of just outlined, we're going to do a quick welcome, give you some background to UN Women and the WEPs Awards process. We'll hear from a very special guest. It's Angwena from Deloitte, who we're very, very proud to have had as a 2020 winner at both the Malaysia level and the regional level. And then we'll also walk you through the WEPs Awards application process and then answer some of your questions live. Any questions that you might have about the process. We do also have an audience joining us on Facebook, I hope, and we'll also take questions from there as well to make sure we can get everything answered for you today. And so my name is Amy Baum, and I'm an international consultant with the We Empower Asia program that I'll tell you about in a minute. And we're also very happy to be joined with our partners at Lead Women today with Dr. Celine Choi, who's the Director of Research and Content at Lead Women, and Archana Divipillai, who's the DEI consultant with Lead Women. Okay, so we'll go ahead and jump in. So a bit of background to the WEPs and the WEPs Awards. So We Empower Asia is a UN Women program that's funded by and in partnership with the European Union. And our key aim is really a focus on business and getting more women to participate and lead in business. And we implement in 7 countries in the Asia-Pacific, with Malaysia being one of the countries. And one of the key ways that we do this is through something called the Women's Empowerment Principles. So we do engage in our program on a few different focus areas and outcome levels, but we really work a lot through this key vehicle called the WEPs, which you're going to hear a lot more about today. So the WEPs were developed in 2010 by UN Women and UN Global Compact as really the key comprehensive framework that provided a pathway towards gender equality throughout the value chain of private sector companies. So not just to focus on women in boards or women in the workplace, but all the way from the C-suite with getting more women on boards to the workplace, to training for women, all the way to marketplace with suppliers that you're working with, women in the supply chain and in the community, and through reporting. And they were designed really initially for large corporates, but they're applicable to companies of any size and sector. And we even have individual entrepreneurs that sign the WEPs. And so I hope that most of you don't need the convincing today, but something that we do always like to share is, of course, supporting women's rights and women's empowerment and gender equality is a human rights responsibility of everyone, but it's also a strong business opportunity. And there is a strong business case to be gained from women's empowerment and gender equality. We know that nearly 5 trillion could be added to the Asia-Pacific economy by 2025 if we advance gender equality. And there's more and more research coming out always that gender diverse companies have more innovation, they have higher brand loyalty, they have greater market growth, and they outperform their peers as well. So we're not only talking about opportunities to support human rights, but also business as well, innovation, growth, and productivity. And kind of enhance business in general. So joining the WEPs, because I don't want to focus too much on this before we go into the awards, but joining the WEPs is a very straightforward process. And again, it can be joined by any corporate, any size or sector, even an SME, individual entrepreneur. And so it happens by downloading a CEO statement of support, which is signed by the CEO, the managing director, or whoever in that office or company has the highest level of decision-making authority, and then submitting a quick application online. And the WEPs is really, joining the WEPs is not saying that you are implementing all seven principles simultaneously, or that you have the ability to, or that you're making progress in all areas. We understand that every company, every business is on a different journey themselves and on a different path, and able to address certain areas as they have the capacity to do and the priority to do. And it's also a voluntary commitment, whether or not you decide to report on your progress or measure your progress. We do have tools in place that we have developed to measure and report, and we do encourage companies to report and become more accountable and transparent. But joining the WEPs is really an aspirational commitment that you will attempt to integrate these 7 principles. It's not a compulsory reporting mechanism. So we really do welcome everyone to join the community and start to take those steps. And right now, globally, we have more than 5,000 signatories across the globe. So although our UN Women program implements in 7 countries, the WEPs are open to any country across the globe. And also because this means any company or country in Asia-Pacific. When we turn to the WEPs Awards, which I'm going to introduce now, so the WEPs Awards are really a regional initiative. They're open to anyone in the Asia-Pacific, but of course, as Malaysia, you have a very special process in hand. But the WEPs Awards, we initiated them last year in 2020, and they're the only regional awards initiative that recognizes companies taking action for gender equality aligned to the WEPs. And this means, which you'll see a little bit later, the categories we promote are aligned to the value chain of the WEPs. You don't have to be a WEP signatory to apply or to take that first step, but it is aligned and in the spirit of the WEPs. And we did this to really make more good practices visible and also inspire other businesses to take action. Because I think for too long, gender equality and a lot of the progress has kind of been focused on the West. And we have a lot of case studies from Europe, from America, and we know that there's great work being done in our region. And so we were very happy last year to highlight a lot of these practices, and we hope to do that again this year. And so one of the things that's special about our 7 implementing countries, which includes Malaysia, is that we also hold a national WEPs Awards process that is kind of in the run-up to the regional ceremony, almost like a football tournament. There's kind of these local national level ceremonies, and then the winners from those national levels go up for competition at the regional awards. So today is kind of the official kickoff of the Malaysia process for the WEPs Awards, which we will be having a national ceremony for. And so before we go into all the details of 2020, we're going to tell you all about the application and the process, which you still have 4 weeks to apply for. But before we go into the details of 2021, we're really, really excited to hear from one of the 2020 winners, and also just to kind of introduce the process of Malaysia last year in choosing the winners and introduce our partner for the WEPs Awards in Malaysia. I'd like to hand it over first to Dr. Celine Choi, the head of research and content at Lead Women, to introduce our special guest speaker and lead us through this section. So Celine, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy, and good afternoon, everybody. I think Amy has set the stage in giving you the background of WEPs as well as the awards. So what I'll just say is that we are extremely privileged to be working together with We Empower Asia and UN Women in this regard since last year in rolling out the WEPs Activator campaign. So I'd just like to highlight that 2021 marks really a significant milestone for both Lead Women and the WEPs. So it's the 10th year anniversary for us and also 10 or 11 years for the WEPs. And this really does demonstrate the alignment of our objectives in trying to increase diversity and women representation across the leadership and the wider ecosystem. And in this regard, I think we currently have about 25.8 women on boards in public listed companies in Malaysia, and we're hoping to get that up to 30%, hopefully very soon. And in that regard, we still have a long way to go. If you look at the Global Gender Gap Index in 2021, we still are at about 112 out of 156 countries in the world. And in that regard, if you were to look at where our gap is the highest, it's actually at the economic and political empowerment arena. So we still have a long way to go in that regard. So our aim for this session is really quite simple. We've already seen, and Amy has already mentioned, that Malaysia has its fair share of industry leaders whose strong gender equality initiatives have impacted and can continue to inspire others. And these efforts we feel deserve to be acknowledged as well, not just locally, but regionally as well. And our 6 WEPs Awards winners last year, one of whom we will be featuring next, is really testament to this. So corporations, private corporations, they really wield significant influence in society, and we really believe that this ripple effect will facilitate Malaysia's journey to actually receiving, or at least reaching, gender parity. We have currently jumped from 7 WEP signatories in September 2020 to currently 46. And Malaysia's sign-up rate for the gender gap analysis tool is currently the highest of any country, if I recall from Amy checking with her this morning. So this really does indicate that there is clear interest locally, and we would really like to assist in translating that appetite into applications. So without further delay, I would now like to feature one of our WEPs Award winners from last year, who was the local winner and regional first runner-up for the category of Gender Inclusive Workplace category. So Deloitte Malaysia was recognized in particular, as you've seen from the slide, for their global all-in initiative, and as well as numerous measures like their 12-month mentoring program for new women staff and grooming women leaders under their Emerging Leaders Development Program. And speaking on behalf of Deloitte Malaysia is partner and Deloitte Southeast Asia Diversity and Inclusion Leader, Ms. Ang Weina. So welcome, Weina, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks very much, Ziting. Glad to be here to share our journey, especially in this, I think, award program that UN Women has initiated. Well done.
Thank you. And we have a number of questions for you. We really like to tap into your expertise and experience. So the first question I have for you would be, what actually inspired Deloitte to apply for the 2020 WEPs Awards?
Okay, I think that's a very good question. And probably to just set the context, we actually had this, this initiative of gender balance and all that way back. I think we started in 2018. And if I look back to my journey as an employee and having been on the career journey for the past 31 years, honestly, I think when I started as a newbie, this was never heard of. Yeah. And the role of an employer, I think, has really truly evolved, especially in the past decade, I must say. So every time, I guess it's probably also an Asian culture kind of thing. It's like, you know, if we do good stuff, we don't boast about it in inverted commas. Yeah. And then, yeah, okay, and then everybody, fine, let's get on. We have this program, the employees are happy and all that. I think then when this thing came on, I would give credit to my function leader, yeah, to say, hey, Weina, and I took the position about 9 months ago, and she just gave me, it's a she, okay, the function leader, she just gave me a nudge and said, shall we give this a try? Why don't you give this a try? Yeah, I was like, huh? Yeah. I was like, hey, and then when I really look into it, and you know that it's not only holding the Southeast Asia Diversity Inclusion Leader, or now it's DEI, with the equity inside that, you juggle with a lot of other work, and the tendency is like, just leave it, you know. But, you know, as I look into it, I said, the team, especially when I have Mahiran, who helped me lead the team and all, we put in, I must say, a good, lots of sweat and blood, I would say. Yeah. And certainly I think we should be credited. And what else to do is like, let's get an independent party to see whether are we on the right track. So as in, you have seen the master chef cook, if you're a damn good cook, but nobody can certify that you're actually a good cook, I think this is the program that will give you the endorsement. So that is where we took that faith to say, let's try it out last year. Yeah.
So that big leap of faith. Yeah, truly agree with you. And, you know, we were just looking at the amount of achievements, or at least some of the things that were listed in your application. And one of it, of course, was the Winning All In initiative. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit about that?
Sure. If you see the background, the virtual background that we have, that is actually our logo on the All In, yeah. Of course, with the equal sign, the equality sign. But I'd like to share a little bit of our All In. This is not only on the Southeast Asia, but as a global initiative. Well, of course, we tweak it to the local context. Nothing to miss, but definitely we'll have that the ultimate aim of the respect and inclusion, yeah. And you can see that the gender balance, the diverse workforce, mental health, especially in this COVID situation where a lot of us are working from home. And how then do we drive all of this, the messaging, yeah, across? Now, the global agenda also has things like the LGBT plus, yeah, panel promise, to when we advocate ourselves to like, well, in this case, we can see a lot of women, but because it is a UN women program, but if on any external programs, we will always try to advocate, do you have fair gender representation on the panelists, yeah? The same thing, we also have gender pay equity, courageous conversations in terms of how do we advocate diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm just bringing the all global, the Deloitte global strategy. And what you see in the slide now is where we have tuned into more relevance into our local context, all right? And I think at the end of the day, why we went for this award is to really, I would say, endorse our people to say that, look, this is the success that we have. This is your award. It's not my award. It's actually your award. And that messaging that we want to deliver to the women, the women professionals, yeah, to say that there is this Women Empowerment program, because why? We want to attract, we want to develop you, and we want to retain that talent. And definitely that very important direct talent experience is very critical to the women workforce.
Great. I imagine having this award is really a big boost in terms of the motivation and morale as well. I will just have one last question in the interest of time. Why do you think other Malaysian businesses should apply for this year's awards, and what advice could you give them in that regard?
If we can move to the slides. The next slide you have. So I think on gender balance, if whoever is thinking of participating in this and is in line with what we have in our objective, I think the words speak for itself, and is to showcase to internally that indeed we don't just walk the talk, we don't just talk only, but we must walk the talk and show our internal commitment, yeah. And number two, this is where I'm influencing the rest of the participants who are listening in. Go for it, right? It's not difficult because you already have your programs in place. If you say, Wena, is it really very easy to go? I must say a lot of compiling, yeah, because it's bits and pieces. If you actually don't realize it, but Mahiran can knock my head for it to say there's a lot of piecing of all these little bits that we have internally, but you have it already. So it's just piecing it to making sure let's influence others and let's refresh. And I think it's a very good initiative to kind of refresh ourselves, because sometimes there are certain little bits that we may have overlooked, and this actually prompted us to kind of re-look from a different perspective. And I think the third point is like, there is that social evolution. Like I said, employers today are no longer the same as what they used to be 30 or 40 over years ago. So it's time for a change, right? And I just want to share a little bit on the women empowerment. Maybe it's the third slide or the very last slide. That you can actually see what are the things that we have embarked on women. Kind of a busy slide, but it all encompassed from the day they were hired, from the day that how they grew in the journey, you can see that it's not only through internal compensation or even the career programs, that's the leadership programs, there is the attached to the C-suites as a buddy system or even a coach system. So all of this are in place to making sure that we are there. I would have been blown away if I knew 30 odd years ago when I started my career that this was in place. But to where I am still with Deloitte after 31 years, I think Deloitte must have done something great. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Weina, I think the audience are able to take away very key chunks of information. And we thank you again for your time joining us today. Over back to you, Amy.
Thank you so much, Celine and Weina. I think my job is done. No. Oh, it's fantastic. Thank you so much. That's so fantastic to hear about, and I'm sure it gives lots of great inspiration to everyone joining. I think that's a great perspective as well, that it's a refresher in a way and a chance to also look back at what you've done and piece together all the different components that you have done. So we look forward to your application again this year. Okay, fantastic. Okay, to move us along, we're doing quite well on time, but to move us along, the 2021 awards. So we have some that might look familiar and some that might be a bit new. So the 2021 process, we have 5 main categories. Let's see. Okay, I have the wrong slide on here. I'm sorry, but I think, yes. Oh, well, these should be reversed, but I'll explain it. So we have 5 main categories this year, and I have these 2 slides reversed, but it loosely follows the value chain of the WEPs. So leadership commitment, gender inclusive workplace, gender responsive marketplace, community engagements and partnerships, and transparency and reporting. And we also do have a 2021 highlighted category, which is youth leadership for our Generation Equality campaign, which I will explain. So each of these 6 categories will have a winner, a first runner-up, and a second runner-up, so 3 awardees per category. But what we're also doing this year, because we recognize that there are a lot of SMEs who are doing really great work to support women in their workplace, no matter how small, or in the community, but may not have all of the policies in place or a lot of the documentation that we do ask for from some of the larger corporates. So while an SME can win in any of these categories, SMEs, even individual entrepreneurs, can win in any of the categories. But to recognize those SMEs that are maybe starting out on the journey, don't have all the policies in place yet, we are also going to recognize 3 SME champions. Who are SMEs that are doing good work and showing great progress, but they're not necessarily on the scale yet to compete with some of the larger corporates. So we're very happy to have that extra boost this year to SMEs. Okay, I'm going to walk you briefly through some of the descriptions of each category and what we're looking for, and then I'll hand it over to Archana from Lead Women to tell you a little bit more about eligibility and the actual application. But we will make all of these slides available to everyone today, and also all of the information is available on the WEPs Awards website. So leadership commitment is this is an individual award for leaders over the age of 35 or 35 and over. And so this goes to leaders in corporations or SMEs as well who've set strong gender equality commitments that are either internal or external and really promote gender equality throughout the organization, public commitments to form partnerships, perhaps initiated a new policy. It could be a workplace initiative, but the leader was the person who really spearheaded that and drove it throughout the organization. So we're looking at those leaders who have really shown that strong commitment and really got the action rolling. And so this could be for a senior leader or a CEO or a managing director. So award to an individual. And then gender inclusive workplace. This goes to a company or organization. So this is one of our most broad categories, and actually where we see the largest number of applications is alongside leadership. And so this encompasses 3 different WEPs principles. This is kind of aligned to WEPs principles 2, 3, and 4. So this encompasses all the range of measures that might support a gender-inclusive workplace. And this could be in the office building or in the factory floor as well. So this could include measures for equal recruitment and pay, flexible work arrangements, especially given times of COVID and shifting priorities, supporting the equal share of care work and childcare for men and women employees, or also special policies to support childcare for employees, guaranteeing the safety and well-being of women at work. This could even be a program supporting safe transport to and from a work location. And also providing training and support for women's career development or mentorship, similar to the program that Deloitte has as part of their all-in strategy. Gender responsive marketplace is the next one. I was just checking the questions quickly. So this as well goes to a company or organization, but we do sometimes see a bit more questions with this one, and companies who kind of are a bit more curious about what marketplace means, or it's also an area they haven't quite started to dig into yet. So I always like to think of marketplace, which aligns to WEP 5, as kind of a 2-pronged area of marketplace. So one definition is the marketplace that you supply from. And so this includes measures for gender responsive procurement, looking at how many women-owned businesses you actually procure from. Or also, do you have a supplier policy where you engage with suppliers who are also taking measures to become more gender equal or provide equal opportunities for women at work? Gender inclusive distribution and selling. So this is kind of the one piece of marketplace. And the other key pillar is marketing and advertising. How do you portray men and women in your advertising? Do you take measures to ensure that you are not portraying harmful stereotypes or negative stereotypes or discrimination in your external advertising? And this could also be even job advertisements or internal marketing and advertising strategies. And this could also even be supporting women entrepreneurs through market development or access programs. So this can also be quite a broad category. Next, we move down the value chain further to community engagement and partnerships. Again, quite a broad category where we see lots of great applications. We saw a lot of great ones last year. So this could be supporting gender equality through community engagement. This could cover CSR programs. We do like to see things that are really innovative or taking a step beyond the traditional CSR. But this could be partnering with other community initiatives to support women in the community, partnering with NGOs or other corporates or government entities. This could be participating in a multi-stakeholder advocacy platform like Unstereotype Alliance to try and advocate for change within one specific industry. And this could also be a partnership, taking part in a larger partnership that's not just community engagement, but organizations that have taken steps to partner with different stakeholders to try and create change in one area. And this also, okay, I see a question coming in that I'll get to at the end. I think this is also a good chance, Archana will touch on it later, but the WEPs Awards are also open to applications from chambers of commerce, industry associations, and stock exchanges. It's not just companies, but also those organizations as well can join. And we've seen some good examples of chambers of commerce or stock exchanges partnering with other organizations to drive forward gender equality. So this award could also go to an industry association or stock exchange. And similarly, one of our new categories this year that might be a bit strange for some people, but we're very excited about, is transparency and reporting. So we're kind of trying to be ahead of the game and be the example, as we hope other people will join along with us. So this award is recognizing private sector champions companies, equally stock exchanges, especially our industry associations that are really trying to drive more accountability through transparency and through reporting. So this again can encompass a wide range of initiatives. We're not just looking for companies that have some gender in their ESG reporting, but really those who have enhanced what they measure in terms of gender indicators in their ESG reporting, or have really taken the steps to perhaps conduct a company-wide gender audit. We have seen some companies that have done major research studies on their gender pay gap, for example, in multiple offices, and then decided in each local context how they're going to address this. This could also be perhaps a report on procurement spend on women-owned businesses. Also integrating or enhancing the gender indicators you have in sustainability reporting. And equally, this could be perhaps for a stock exchange or industry association advocating across their industry to integrate more gender reporting in their reporting initiatives, or to boost and enhance the indicators that are included. So a number of different steps in this category as well, but one that we're really excited to see for this year. And so I don't take too much time. Our last category that we're quite excited about is youth leadership. So we did have this category last year, but this year we're really boosting it up in alignment with our Generation Equality campaign, which the major forum just concluded in Paris last week. I hope some of you tuned in. We've actually seen record commitments. Almost $40 billion have been committed to gender equality globally. And a strong component of this campaign was youth, and really encouraging more youth to take the lead in gender equality initiatives. So this award is for any young leader under the age of 35 taking steps to advance gender equality aligned with the WEPs. And there's two special things about this award. I think one is that this doesn't have to be a titled leader. This could be any employee in an organization that maybe decided to spearhead a gender equality effort, or started a club in their organization for maybe other young women and wanted to lead gender equality. So this doesn't have to be the CEO or the managing director. A founder of a startup, certainly, or an individual entrepreneur with a small organization that's founded it, of course. But again, this goes quite broad. It does not have to be a titled leader. And the second really exciting element is this youth leadership category will also have some grant money. So to the three awardees at the regional level, we will be awarding some grant money to help drive their organizations, and some mentorship on how they might invest the money back into their organization to further their efforts and give them that boost. Okay, that's enough for the categories. I want to make sure that I give Archana time to go through the application and also save time for questions. So to go over some of those more detailed aspects, I'll hand it over to Archana.
Thank you, Amy. So it's nice to see there are already questions coming in. But before that, I think I'll just walk you through quite briefly over the application process. So who is this award for? Basically, it's everyone in business. So like Amy mentioned earlier, even chambers of commerce, stock exchanges, associations can apply. And I think one interesting thing is that you need not necessarily be a WEPs signatory. So you can still apply to the awards, even though you're not a WEPs signatory. So we do invite all of you and your organizations to apply to the award. We can move on to the next slide. Thank you. This is actually my favorite slide because you do get a lot by hopping onto the Women's Empowerment Principles campaign and also applying to the awards. And the first one would be, you get a really good opportunity to demonstrate your leadership on gender equality. And you would have seen many statistics around being shared about how gender equality really helps with economic empowerment as well in your businesses. So this is really an opportunity for that. And number two, to really build your credibility and to be able to get on board with the sustainability agenda and make your efforts be known to your consumers as well. And the third one would be for all applicants, you also get access to the self-diagnostic tool to measure what competitive advantage you have. And also Amy, I think, mentioned this early on in the session that we have already a network of more than 5,000 companies that have joined the Women Empowerment Principles campaign. So you will be joining this extensive network, getting to know the different companies that are doing the various initiatives around gender equality. And of course, you have access to free online trainings. In fact, I think us at Lead Women, we just organized the touch point on sexual harassment at the workplace about a week plus ago. We had good feedback from those who attended. So similar to that, there will be other free online trainings as well made available. And the perks to this would definitely be the visibility, because one of the features of being applying to the WEPs Award, you actually get a testimonial video being featured on UN Women's media channels, and also you get a champion profile created for all awardees and featured on the media channels as well. So I hope that excites you more if the earlier slides and information wasn't that exciting yet. Moving on. So I think this is important for you to mark your dates, because the application to the awards has already opened up in May, and it will be closing the end of July. So you have exactly 4 weeks to go to be able to put in your applications for the awards. And in August, the shortlisting will be done, and in October will be the national award ceremonies, and ending it in November with the regional ceremony as well. So those are 4 important dates for you to mark in the calendars. So the awards application in a whole is a 3+1 step. So the first step would be really going onto the website, Asia-Pacific WEPs Awards.org, and put in your application. And in step 2, you also have the opportunity to put in your application in different languages available. I think that opens up more companies to be able to more easily put in your application. And step 3, to complete all 4 sections that are available for the application, and to upload your files online as well. So you won't be emailing anything to UN Women or Lead Women, but putting in everything on the platform itself. So hope that makes it easier for you. Yep, so I think we ran through this earlier. So part 1 of your putting in your application would be really about putting in the application information. So information about your organization. And part 2 will be the general questions about the policies and practices that's related to the WEPs principles. And the third one would be category questions that we'll be seeing in a bit in the next slides. So yep, as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. You have drop downs to select from. This is basically this part 1, section 1 of the application process. And then moving on to part 2 would be the general questions to put in your details as well. And the third part is where it's a bit more elaborate. Part 3.
I did just want to chime in very quickly. Sorry, Archana.
Thanks, Amy.
Just to chime in. Yes, on the part 2 application. So these questions might seem a bit difficult for some, but these are aligned to the WEPs Gender Gap Analysis Tool questionnaire, which everyone has access to, whether you're a signatory or not, which is a comprehensive questionnaire that allows you to assess your strengths and weaknesses and where you are on the journey. And so for the answers to these questions, we do ask that everyone provide supporting documents and either upload a supporting document they have a policy or a report, or write a written description if you don't have the documentation. We know that sometimes this part 2 can scare some companies off, or especially some small enterprises, but we'll show you this later. But just to note right now, part 2 is only weighted at 25% of your total score for the application, because we do want to make sure that we are ultimately awarding companies that have good practices and are taking steps aside from just one initiative. But 75% of the overall score comes from the part 3 category. So we have done this in order to not overly advantage some of the major corporates that might have naturally more policies in place. So just a note on that, even if you think, oh, I'm not going to apply, I don't have, maternity leave, paternity leave, you know, aligned more than ILO convention, it's okay, please still apply. We have balanced it out to ensure that we don't disadvantage those smaller organizations. Okay, and then Archana, I'll let you go into part 3.
Yeah, that was really important. And moving on to part 3 would be the category questions. And of course, we have the different sections, subsections to this as well. And as Amy mentioned earlier, so if you know, the application process gets a bit overwhelming, I'm sure you can reach out to us, UN Women or Lead Women, to give you an assistance on how to go about putting in your application, because as Amy has mentioned, it can get overwhelming just going through the different steps. Yeah.
Yeah, and so these part 3 category questions, so each company can apply to up to 2 categories. And so you can fill in these questions for 2 different categories. And these basically follow a set structure of background to the action. Why did it start? What was the context happening? The key actions you took, and the lessons learned from that. What were the key actions? Who were the partners? What difficulties did you have? And then the results and the sustainability. And we do also ask for supporting documents in part 3 as well, but these can be quite a broader range. You can submit video testimonials, you can submit Facebook posts even that you had, or comments from people that might have participated in an initiative. An article, sustainability reports are certainly welcome. And we do like as much data as can be gathered for the initiative, just to make sure that there's evidence for it. So when we conduct the review of the application, we're making sure that we award the initiatives that have really taken the right action. And also just a note on these questions, there are word limits on the online application for each of these sections. And these questions that we give, you don't have to answer every single question exactly. They're more a guiding frame that we will be looking for these kind of answers when we assess the application. But it's okay if you're not addressing every single question exactly. They're more of a guiding frame. Okay, and then just a quick brief on this. Yeah, and then there's just a small part 4 is just submit, where you can actually save the application and go back to it later at any time. So we would encourage everyone to start today. And just one note as well, on the website, you can download the application in Excel or Word form, so that because it might take a few different departments to fill out part 2 as well. So if you want to pass around the application in Excel form to get people to complete different pieces and then come back and upload it later on the website, that's perfectly fine. Okay, and then maybe I'll just go through this briefly for the shortlisting process and the scoring process. So UN Women does internally, and League Women will support us from Malaysia, conduct the initial shortlisting. And so as I mentioned briefly before, part 2 is weighted at 25%, part 3 is weighted at 75%. And so part 2 comes to us with a score already based on the answers that you chose. And then we do also use the supporting documentation or explanation provided to verify the answer, just so that we make sure if you've given us an answer, yes, we have a standalone sexual harassment policy with a grievance mechanism in place and we monitor and report, just to make sure that we can verify that answer given. And then part 3, where the majority of the weighting goes, we have a standardized scorecard that we've developed with peer review to help give scores for different areas of the category application. And then also we verify those answers with the supporting documentation. And sometimes, especially for those that we do see a lot of promise for, we may get back in touch with you and ask for additional documentation. Just to support something. But based on that initial review, we have a short list that we create, and then that is sent to a judging panel. So we'll have an expert panel of judges who all have gender expertise and also engagement with women's economic empowerment or working with the private sector. And they review part 3 of the application. So they don't have any of the information provided in part 2. That's all kept confidential and internal for UN Women shortlisting. But they review the part 3, the category description, and provide their scores. And then we collect their scores, and based on that, combine them with the part part 2 scores, and from that determine the final awardees. So we'd like it to be a very inclusive process, and we've taken lots of steps to ensure that it's inclusive. And we can include young startups or small enterprises, but also keep it somewhat standardized and as objective as possible, to make sure it's as free from bias as possible. Okay, I think that ends the main section of us talking a lot. We have 15 more minutes, so maybe we'll go over some questions. There were a few questions put in, and then if others pop up during the time, we can use it. And if not, I'll go through some of the most frequently answered questions we get maybe. So I did see one initial question. To date, how many participants have submitted their applications for this year? We have a number started and some submitted. I would have to double check on the final number, but we're still in the process of rolling it out, and there are still 4 more weeks left to go. So we encourage as many applications as possible. Last year, we had more than 400 applications come in by the end of the process from 17 different countries in the Asia-Pacific. So we were quite pleased and astounded. And then the other question I saw that came in, this is a great one, a fantastic question. If the company has won one of the category awards last year and continued to do as how it was last year, nothing additional, would you suggest the company to submit for the category again this year? Okay, fantastic question. So to clarify, we do welcome applications from 2020 awardees, and it could even be in the same category, but it needs to be for a different initiative. Or it could be within the same kind of overall initiative, but something significantly enhanced or adapted. If you've done the same thing, then unfortunately I wouldn't suggest you apply, because we don't want to award the same company for the same thing if you've just been kind of carrying on in the same manner. So for example, Deloitte could even apply again this year for the workplace category, the same category they won for last year. And we would recommend applying for a different initiative than All In, but they could still apply with the All In initiative if they've added another element, they've enhanced it over the past year, especially if they've shown that they've taken action to make progress. If they've looked back and they've reflected on things that worked in 2019 or 2020, or how the context has changed, and they've taken steps to enhance it, adapt it, add another element that they saw was needed, that could still be considered. We're looking to not award the same companies for doing just the exact same things. That's kind of the message. And also, I think the key thing to think of is different initiatives. So just another question we sometimes get, say if a company says, oh, we used this initiative and we won for workplace, but it was our leader who started it, so we want to apply for leadership using the same initiative. So we would say, even though it's a different category, if it's just the exact same initiative, it probably won't work. So we're really looking for something different than you were awarded for in 2020. Okay, I saw someone said noted. Okay, I see we have a few more questions come in. Let me check. Okay, this is a great question as well. If the company does not fall into the listed specific category, would it be advisable to still apply? I'll say first, yes. But second, email us, get in touch with us. You can either email someone from Lead Women team, especially if it's for Malaysia related questions. I think Archana can pop one of the emails in, or our team can also get in touch with you to help you. I think what we can do is get in touch with us first and see where you might fit in and which category you might fit in best. I don't know what the specific situation is. But chances are that we could find a place that it works in somewhere, and that we would still love to see you apply. So we are more than happy to be on hand to help ask you any questions, answer any of your questions, and also guide you through to get ready for the application process. Okay, any other questions coming in? I'll give it a minute to see if any others come in. I think I'll just a couple other questions I know we've had come up quite frequently. I'll go over. There's no fee to participate in the awards at all. It's completely free to participate. And again, you do not need to be a WEP signatory to apply. If you are shortlisted, at that point that you're shortlisted, we send you an email and you will have to become a WEP signatory by the time of the national ceremony to become an awardee, because it is the WEPs Awards, so we do need to be awarding WEP signatories. But to apply, you don't have to be a signatory at all. We welcome anyone and everyone to apply. And actually, last year, the majority of applications were from non-WEP signatories. So I think that was another great learning for us, and also for the companies, that a lot of companies were taking really great steps and doing great work, but they either weren't familiar with the WEPs or didn't see how the WEPs was relevant to them. But we've learned about their best practices, and also they've kind of been able to utilize some of the tools that we have with the WEPs to help them frame their efforts within the wider value chain and supply chain, and see how they might be able to advance from some of the areas they're already progressing in to looking at other areas as well. One question I see, we will send everyone who's in the session today and everyone who registered the presentation slides, and we'll also have the recording live to be available for everyone. Okay, any other questions? I think another one that often pops up, so we do have available on the application where we ask for supporting documentation. If you don't have the supporting documentation, if you're a smaller organization and you don't have it, you can write a written explanation. So we see from some companies, maybe they don't have a policy in place yet for sexual harassment or gender equal recruitment. Maybe they're a startup and they're just starting. And so we found last year, a lot of them might have been scared off and said, no, this is too difficult. But it's okay, just write in the written explanation box. You know, we are still in the beginning of our journey and we are developing a policy, but still looking for external guidance. Maybe you write, we have a plan to develop XYZ, and that's okay. You can send that in and we'll work with it. Trying to see if I have any other questions. What I might do, just while we have the extra time, and because we will be sharing this session, I'm going to go to another. I'm going to actually open up the website for you guys, just to show you what it looks like. Okay, so everyone can see my screen, correct? Okay, great. So I'll just walk you through this just very quickly. So this is our lovely website. And this has, by the way, all the information that we've told you today, the key dates, categories, eligibility. This is all available on the website as well. And when you're ready to apply, you just hit this apply tab. English is the primary language of application, but for some of our We Empower Asia countries, we do have some other languages. Unfortunately, not Bahasa Malay yet, but we can also support you with some of the help if you need. The application forms are available to download, as I said, if you would like to work offline. And so once you're ready, you just click that flag to begin the application. Okay, and one thing I want to show you is once you start filling out a draft, if you want to get started and then you run into an area where you need to ask a different team member, what you can do, or actually let me discard and start over. So say I type in some information, but I'm not quite ready. So what I'm going to do is hit save. Okay, and we use JotForm for our form submissions. So you'll see this box pop up from JotForm. What you can actually choose to do is skip create an account. You don't actually have to create an account with JotForm. You can skip create an account, and then I can pop in my email address, and then I can just send the link, or I can get the shareable link if you want to be able to share the application with others in your team. But if I hit send the link, then the form is actually sent to my email. And so then I can come back in at any time and complete the application before I submit it. Okay, I see another great question coming in. Oh, fantastic. is there a gauge for strength of application? For example, we might not meet 30% of the suggested category criteria and feel less confident to apply for it this year. This is a fantastic question as well. Okay, the category criteria, I should say as well, because each category is quite broad, they cover a range of what the initiatives might be that you could win for. So when we list all those different things down for gender equal workplace, it doesn't mean you're doing all of those. You could actually just be doing one of those only. This is what these are just suggestions of what could be included in the category. So let me just pop back to this very quickly, just so everyone can see clearly. So in this workplace category, for example, oops, okay, let me go back. Is everyone seeing the full screen PowerPoint? Yes, and are you seeing the workplace category? I hope so.
Yep, it's
okay, great. Okay. So for example, we have had companies win just for equal recruitment and pay policies. You could just be, or another company applied using kind of an innovative approach to guarantee safe transport for some of their rural women workers and women in some of their factories. And it was a really innovative initiative in a way that they sought to address the safety and well-being of workers. So it was just one standalone measure and initiative, and that could win. You do not have to be meeting all of these bullets by any means. I hope that answers the question. These are just examples of what could be included in the policy. Or for transparency and reporting, or sorry, another example for gender responsive marketplace. It could be one advertising campaign that you did that really sought to reverse stereotypes. So actually our winner, one of our winners in Malaysia last year was a fantastic kind of marketing campaign from Vinda Group, where they actually do a lot to try and break some of the taboos and the negative associations with women's menstruation. And they had a whole fantastic campaign and series of advertisements. So it's one campaign, one issue that they won for. So these are just guidance for what could be included. Okay, I see more, yay, more question, okay. Hi there, I understand there is no entry fee, but will there be any charges if we win a category? Yes, you know, no, there's no charges on media or advertisement, no. Absolutely not. There's no fee to participate, and no, in terms of also creating the testimonial video that we create, and also those, maybe if one of our colleagues could put it in the chat on the UN Women, our We Empower Asia YouTube channel, we have the videos from the Malaysia winners last year. So for those testimonial videos, as well as any media or promotion, there's no fee associated at all. Yeah, not at all. That's a great question though. And also the profile, the profiles that will be created on each, the written profiles, not video ones, but there's also no charge to that. Okay, we still have 2.5 minutes left. Are there any burning last minute questions?
I see Sarah Liana's hands up raised. Yeah. We can unmute and ask your question, Sarah.
Let me see if I can. Not sure. Oh, let me, okay. Allowed to talk. Okay, Sarah Liana, if you would like to unmute yourself and ask. I'm not sure. Okay, I can ask to unmute, but I'm not sure I can unmute her manually. Okay, I'm not sure if she asked in the chat. If not, you can always email us and get in touch. No? Okay, I see the hand went down. Okay, so maybe you no longer have the question, or hopefully it's been answered. Okay, I think we're at 11:29. I'll let everyone go if you haven't already had lunch. Sorry, 11:29, we're an hour behind in Bangkok. But thank you everyone for joining today. Again, we really encourage to apply or get in touch with us. If you don't think you meet the qualifications, I promise you probably do. And we really want to see I mean, the main reason we're doing this is to showcase those examples and inspire other companies. And so we really want to see as many examples as we can. And also because we will have a national WEPs Awards ceremony in Malaysia. And so we're really excited to be able to highlight this means we'll have up to 21 awardees for Malaysia alone before we even have the regional ceremony. And we're really, really excited. I think through our other work with Lead Women, we've seen that there's tremendous good practices companies are engaging in with Malaysia. And so we're really excited to have more of those showcased this year. So I think everybody has the emails. We will share the slides, we'll share the recording. And I want to thank so much Deloitte again for joining us today, and also Archana and Celine with Lead Women. We're very excited to be partnering with Lead Women for the process in Malaysia. And we will see everyone soon. We hope to receive your application soon. So thank you, everyone.